Oh,
I'm doing great. How about you?
good. It's pretty sunny in Colorado today, but it's supposed to get yucky again this weekend, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Ah, too bad.
How are
It's
things where you are?
I'm in San Diego and we're
Hmm.
entering the almost like the May gray, so it's been cloudy in the mornings, but then the sun pokes through. It's pretty nice out right now.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thanks
Good.
for
Well,
meeting with me.
yeah, likewise. I know we talked about doing this just to really highlight your experience raising capital on Start Engine and your whole journey from learning about what the process is to actually going through it and now having this uh, band of ambassadors behind your brand that have invested in you. And I know you've commented on the impacts of that and the potential future impacts of that as well. So excited to learn more directly from you. And
Thanks.
I don't know if you just want to introduce yourself real quick, and then I can introduce
Sure.
myself.
Yeah. So I am Karen Hertz, and I am the founder and chief brewista of Holidaily Brewing Company. Holidaily is the largest gluten-free brewery in the country. I am in Colorado and started Holidaily really as a combo of my education, my work life, and my personal life. I have an MBA in entrepreneurship, worked at Coors Brewing Company for about 10 years, and then ran into health issues. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, melanoma and thyroid cancers, also diagnosed with a gluten intolerance, and worked in the beer industry. Love beer. Colorado is a huge beer state, same with San Diego, right? Not the state of San Diego, but the city of San Diego. Um, so craft beer is a big part of our culture here, and there were no great gluten-free beers. And so I made my own. We opened Holidaily in February of 2016, with 3 beers on tap, and we were open 3 days a week. And by the end of year one, we had 10 beers on tap. We were open every day of the week, and I was distributing 2 beers out of the back of my car. Um, so it's been a wild ride since then, lots of growth for us, and now we distribute to 11 states in the Western United States.
Yeah, your story just is so amazing, Karen. And when I
Thanks.
talk to people about Start Engine, I always bring up Holidaily and just your passion behind it, but just the personal story just really resonates with people and it makes a lot of sense. So really made a good fit for what we do.
Yeah.
And that might be a good segue, but my name is Mark Pelletier. I work on the fundraising team at Start Engine, which really means I help educate and guide entrepreneurs like yourself
Yeah.
through the end-to-end fundraising process of raising capital through Start Engine. And Start Engine is an equity crowdfunding platform whose mission is to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. So we do this by allowing private companies like Holidaily to raise capital from the public, which is possible through a regulation from the Jobs Act of 2012 called regulation crowdfunding, where private companies can raise capital from an unlimited amount of unaccredited investors, which
Mhm.
previously was impossible to do and really just reserved for accredited investors only. Now,
Sorry, I was just
yeah,
gonna say there's something, important about that piece is one of the biggest benefits for me of partnering with Start Engine was you guys knew all the rules around that because you can't just do it. You really do have to know the rules, and Start Engine has an awesome legal team that would review really everything I did. And so that comfort piece was really important to me, and I felt like just your team did a good job with that.
yeah, it's really important to us. We've done a lot of these raises. It's definitely
Mhm.
been trial and error. But the compliance piece is really important to us and really just trying to hold your hand through this process, right? Karen, I know you raised capital before Start
Mhm.
Engine. And I know the process is a little different than what you've done
Mhm.
before,
Mhm.
but we're here to go through those nuances, right?
Yeah.
So even just the story and making that a public story rather than pitching it to private investors, making that compelling for a public audience. Again, with the legal and compliance, we have onboarding managers, campaign managers,
Mhm.
everything to deal with the investor. So it truly is an end-to-end process that we help with, and hopefully it made it a little bit more seamless for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think really that process, and you can help me define the teams best, but once we agreed to raise with Start Engine, there was an onboarding manager, and Mark was with me through the whole thing, which is cool. So love that you were there with me because I would panic and be like, ah, what about this? And you would help me, which is awesome. But we'd come in, there was an onboarding manager, and really they just helped me pull all the data we needed. So, our taxes, our financials, any information that is required to do this, to report. And so they helped me weed through all of that. And it really was a portal that I just downloaded stuff on, and then handed me over to marketing, who would help me design our page on Start Engine, help me with messaging. So she was awesome. And then there was, once we started getting money in, there was a team that's helping me sort through all that, get those disbursements back to the company, be sure we were notifying investors. Um, and the portal really is still a place that I can put messages out to anybody on Start Engine, or just our investors. So I still have access to that to utilize it for communication. So really, Start Engine did a good job of helping me through the different phases, and everybody that helped was very helpful.
It's good to hear.
Yeah,
It takes a village for sure, and
totally.
you're a very important part of that village for sure too.
Well,
Um,
thanks.
so I mentioned before you made a good fit right when I met you, from the story to the industry and what you had already built. So I just wanted
Mhm.
to touch or go into that a little bit deeper. And I
Yeah.
know you want to make it known of like what made you a good fit, and typically what do we look at Start Engine that would be a good fit for our investors and just raising capital this way. Um, Really, the best fits for crowdfunding are founders like yourselves who are passionate about raising from their community and the public at large. It takes
Mhm.
hard work, as you noted, but you're
Totally.
rewarded for that, right? You're setting your terms, you're maintaining control of your business while you raise. It's
Mhm.
really sad. Too often, I hear stories of CEOs being fired from their own companies after raising from different types of investors because they gave up too much control too early in their process. So we offer an alternative to that. We also work with a variety of industries, and it's part of what makes me get out of bed, like really excited to work here every day. I go from speaking with like a SaaS founder looking to change the payment scene,
Right.
or an engineer trying to build flying cars, and then a head brewer making delicious gluten-free beer. So I'm just exposed to so much every day, and
Mhm.
um, that type of passion and innovation is definitely contagious.
Mhm.
So I just want to share that, and anyone out there that's thinking about this, we can make it fit with a lot of different industries.
Mhm.
Um, and if you're, again, passionate about allowing other people to come in and invest and be a part of your company at a like much deeper level than just being, consumers of your product.
Right.
Um, and again, I want to talk about that in a bit, but I want to understand, how we came in touch and just
Yeah.
your why behind using equity crowdfunding. Did it have to go into what I was just talking about, or were there other aspects to it?
Yeah, I think you had mentioned I've done other raises before, traditional seed funding raises, angel rounds. And you had talked about an accredited investor versus unaccredited, and I had a lot of people in our tap rooms that I'd meet out, essentially saying, I love Holidaily. I love what you're doing. I don't have, on my other raises, a minimum might be 25,000, and other raises it was 100,000. I don't have $100,000, but I have five, or I have 1,000 or 500. And I want to be a part of it. They want to be a brand ambassador for us. And I kept hearing that messaging a lot. Um, and ultimately, it made me feel like, okay, this could not only be a great opportunity to grow, and we can talk some more about why I was raising money in the first place. Um, but it also is a bonus that I get this army of brand ambassadors for Holidaily, and not just in Colorado. You know, we distribute now to 11 states. So it really expands my reach. And it made me realize we can utilize this not only to fund some growth and some things we're doing here, but our marketing team. These are feet on the street that I can send into different places or to check on displays or go buy a 4-pack somewhere. Or just talk to people, in their markets about Holidaily. So I was thinking about it. I was being coached by a good friend of mine called Greg Stein. He's also on my board. And he had worked with, I think you specifically, but Start Engine before. Um, and when we were talking about it, or when I had mentioned it, he was like, "Hey, let me make an introduction," and we sat with you. Um, and I think, for anybody listening, if you introduce someone to Start Engine, so my buddy Greg, you get a bonus of $10,000 from Start Engine. They are just like all of us, wanting people to talk about them and get to know them. And so Greg did get that. Start Engine wasn't the only platform that I interviewed. Honestly, I did a couple, and for me, the choice was really, I mean, Mark, I think you did a really great job. It felt more buttoned up and professional to me than some others, and totally my opinion. Um, but that's the reason I went that direction.
And I think you're at a unique place to raise. So I just want to dive in a little deeper of
Yeah.
why you were raising capital in the
Hmm.
first place,
Yeah.
um, and where exactly you were in the stage and what the goals were beyond that.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it in the beginning, but we have been growing very quickly. And in 2019, we built a production brewery with some space to grow. So we had tanks in there, we had a canning line in there, but we built it prepped for more equipment, and knowing and hoping that once we grew enough, then we could pull some triggers on some more equipment. And really, three main things came out of that for us. One was we got more tanks, so we got more brewing capacity. But also we upgraded our canning line, and we upgraded our packaging line. So before we would package with plastic holders, and now we package with cardboard wraps. So not only is it more sustainable and better for the environment, but it's better for us because no matter what way that cardboard gets put on a shelf, it's Holidaily. So it's great marketing for us. So those were just some upgrades that we wanted to do. An updated canning line, our return of investment on that is labor. Instead of 30 cans a minute, we can run 100 cans a minute. Um, so there were some investments we wanted to make in equipment. In addition, inventory is so expensive these days, and we wanted to be able to buy some bulk inventory to save on our cost of goods. So some of the money went towards that, some staffing, and then, you can always spend all your money on marketing if you want, but we wanted to do some unique marketing and just keep people informed that our brand is out there.
So you treated the raise parts marketing and fundraising,
Yes,
obviously.
1000%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it was definitely fundraising and helps us to continue on our growth trajectory. But man, that marketing army that I have out there now is pretty powerful. So it's pretty cool.
great. Okay,
Yeah,
so we got introduced. We ended up working together. The process starts,
yeah,
and now we're working with the whole team. So you mentioned a little bit about getting to work with those different teams, but
yeah,
can you tell us how you prepared for the campaign and what
yeah.
you did to set yourself up to have some success here?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. This is not a call Mark, sign up with Mark, and you're going to raise $1 million. Like, this is work and a full-time job. And so there's, I think, a lot you need to think about ahead of time, during, after the raise. So ahead of time, honestly, once we knew we were going to move forward or move in this direction, I did a ton of networking, speaking at events, going to conferences, getting very active on LinkedIn and social media. Um, just as much networking as I possibly could because I wanted to promote it to our community. And, if I'm up speaking, my social media handles up because I want them following Holidaily and following me. Um, because when the announcement came out, I wanted that reach to be as far as possible. Um, Lots of my networking in events, I just kept a spreadsheet of names and emails and um, so I mean, it was about 6 months of, I would say, silently networking, but not silently, but just getting to know people, exchanging information, getting them following Holidaily, so that when the announcement came that we were going to do this, I had built that network as best I could. Um, and then other things were just, working honestly with you and the onboarding team, like I had to have information ready to download. You've got to have all your financials ready. You got to have your taxes ready. You got to, you do get audited. It's not a full audit, but they do a financial audit and help you make sure all of that's ready. But that's a ton of work too. So, making sure all of that was ready before we launched. And then assets around what is our messaging, what do we want people to know. We did a video. I had a videographer come in and help me, and actually Start Engine helped me write the script. Here's what you should say. Here's what we can't say. There are things you can't say. So um, there was a lot of marketing prep as well.
Yeah, I know you did a lot of work preparing for it, and then as you came in, I know you quickly got on the most momentum on Start Engine,
Yeah,
like I think within the first
yeah,
week.
yeah,
So you clearly did a lot right.
yeah.
And
Thanks.
then how did you keep your foot on the gas throughout the campaign? Because
Yeah.
you came out of the gates hot, and I
Mhm.
know like the first even 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's typical for a good campaign with us. We see a lot
Yeah.
of momentum early
Yep.
on, and then usually a lot of closing messaging gets a lot of
Yeah.
people to convert at the end too. So what
Yeah.
did you do to keep your foot on the gas and try to keep things steady
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah. I mean,
campaign?
I think we were number one momentum wise for a while, and then we were, I think, top 15 for the rest of the campaign. Like we were never off that list, which was awesome and is very helpful. And I do think there's strategies, and you guys were great about helping me with that. But for me, it was on that Start Engine portal where we have a page and people can go look us up. I was doing updates 3 times a week. So updates all the time, and it would match those on all of our social media. Um, but then also one thing that you guys were great at helping me with were the perks. So, we looked at data on timing of those and efficiency of those. And we did throw out a couple perks in the middle that there was no doubt spikes when that happened. People love a good perk. So we even had people that took advantage of the first one and then also took advantage of a second one. So, the same people. Um, so, knowing that and what those look like and what works for different brands, it's not going to be the same for everybody. People love beer. So, me offering, for an added layer of investment, some extra perks, um, that was worth it to me. And, it might have taken someone from $5,000 investment to a $10,000 investment. Or, they were thinking about it, and then we offer, a flash perk, which is a percent off, or an added percentage essentially of units that you get. And that would get people either over that hump or more excited about getting involved. So I think timing of perks and just consistency of messaging. Other things I did was had a lineup of it didn't have to come out during our raise, but if there were great articles about Holidaily, we have a lot of PR, TV, anything like that, those would be part of my updates. So utilizing those in the raise was really effective as well.
Yeah. And kudos for you again for just doing things the right way here. A couple follow-ups and just for anyone who doesn't know, you can incentivize investors to join the round on Start Engine via these perks. And perks for Holidaily were things like exclusive brewery tours
Hmm.
or getting subscriptions to seasonal beer releases. So
Hmm.
getting creative around those perks definitely gets people to invest more, but also it goes back into building that ambassador program that you were talking about. Like people are
Totally.
joining something bigger than themselves and they're already fans of you and your beer, and now they get to be an insider and they're
Hmm.
working right alongside you. And I think you just positioned that really uniquely, and it clearly worked.
One other really cool thing I think that we did is we did a VIP hat only for investors. So kind of designed just a special holiday hat for people to wear. And what's cool is when I get a text like, "Hey, I saw an investor hat at the airport." And so I went and chatted him up. So they knew, it's another investor. And they have enjoyed that. We're starting to really get them out to everybody. And um, so that's really cool to see that. Or they'll come walking in the tap room with their investor hat on. So I know right away, like, hey, awesome. Thanks for being part of the team. Um, so that was a fun, just added bonus that every investor got at any level.
And you actually just told me something that I had never heard about. I don't know if you remember or know what I'm going to say.
Uh-uh.
But you gave everyone or a specific subset of them business cards, right? That say investor or like a
I
little
did do
investor
that.
card,
Yeah, no, you're
so they
right.
can always
Yeah.
keep those handy. It's like they go to a bar, they don't have Holiday. Like, hey, what are you doing? You should have this beer.
Yep.
So I thought that was really creative and unique, and I've actually started
Thanks.
bringing it up in conversations with people
Yeah.
that they
And
should do the
that's
same
kind of
thing.
a post-raise move, but I love it. What we've done is we printed up business cards that just say brand ambassador, has our address, our phone, and in info at Holidaily Brewing email. And then essentially they're out, like you said, their title is brand ambassador. It doesn't have their name on it. It's just, hey, I'm a Holidaily brand ambassador. Um, yeah, you need to carry Holidaily, or you've never heard of them, or maybe a retailer buddy. Hey, you guys need to be carrying Holidaily. So, um, yeah, and we have I gave them each, I don't know, 5 or 10, and I have some that came in to get like boxes. Like, no, I want a full box. Okay, here you go. So that's been cool. And again, it's just one added little thing that makes them feel really a part of our team.
Yeah. And when you first launched this, what was the feedback or the overall vibe from your community and
Yeah.
customers? Um, were there surprises, pleasant, unpleasant? And how did they respond to you raising capital this way?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because I have current investors, right? So they're like, "What, why are we doing it this way?" So just communicating why and what I was thinking around it from the community, people were so excited, especially the people tightest to us, our regulars in the tap room or customers in Texas that buy Holidaily frequently. Um, so we have a lot of great communities in that we have the gluten-free community, we have the craft beer community, and then we're the only certified women-owned brewery in the country. And so even people that want to support, women-owned business, we have that community too. And um, so people from each of those segments and then even beyond just were excited to participate, especially once we launched it. Tons of just fun comments online and um, people just saying, I've been asking for this forever. I'm so excited. So, it's doing something like this is pretty vulnerable. You're like, I don't know how people are going to take it. I don't know, what they're going to say. And that was really reassuring, honestly.
I know we've talked a lot about great stuff from this and a lot of positive feedback. Were there challenges during the campaign? And if so, how did you get over those?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nothing is always super easy or seamless. I would say really for me, the biggest challenge was timing. And what I mean by that is there was an election going on while we were doing this. And so Mark and I would talk a lot about, um, that challenge and are people holding on to money? Are they not sure they want to do it? How's this all going to shake out? Um, and so I think that impacted some things. And then holidays too. Like we went over the holidays. So, looking back, there were some just timing challenges that may have distracted people or detracted people from wanting to invest. Um, and I think, the way we got around it was just consistent messaging, consistent reassurance. Sharing a lot of the news coming out about Holidaily, what we were up to. Um, so I think that was really it. We had a message, we had a plan, and we stuck to it. We didn't pivot or freak out or anything. We just um, stayed focused, honestly.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get through all of that. You raise almost $1 million.
Mhm.
I think there were what, well over 300 people came in to
About
invest,
300,
right?
right about 300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did this help you out? What have you noticed after the campaign, or anything, after shocks of the campaign that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've already talked about my brand ambassadors now, we've been good about communicating to them. We have monthly communications, we have quarterly calls with them, virtual, just state of the business calls with them. We had some events at our tap room. So our tap room, when we have those events, if you can get 50 investors to come, that's a huge bump for our tap room, right? So, all of that. But then in addition, I feel like I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking me about the raise. How did I do it? What was the process like? You know, exactly what we're talking about today. But I think it's built my network and it's marketed Holidaily as well. Like people are talking about Holidaily not just because of our beer, but because of this process. And I'm seeing other breweries have luck similarly. So I think it's a good area for breweries to consider. Um, but to your point, it can be any industry. So it's built my network even since, and set us up for this at least being a viable option again in the future if it's something that we need to do.
And what advice would you have to anyone giving this thought, of raising through equity crowdfunding?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely want to talk to someone that's done it. I think that was really valuable too. I had talked to some other people that had done it. I think call Mark and talk to Mark about it. But you can do a real good job of walking them through the process, what that looks like, talk about ideas. I think that's really valuable. I do think, and I had mentioned this before, like, do not think you're going to put a couple pictures on a website and raise $1 million. Like, really do be prepared. And know this is a big effort by someone on your team, but actually not just someone, almost your whole team. Like you've got to keep your whole team in the loop. What's going on? How can they help you communicate? I would get up in front of our staff and say, here's how you talk to people, what you say about it, questions you can ask them, where you can send them, if they're interested. So I had a team prepared, trained, ready to help me. But it was a huge focus for me. Um, and it is a ton of work, but it can be absolutely worth it.
Yeah. And anyone that's interested, reach out to Karen, reach out to me.
Yeah,
As Karen said, I talk with founders all day. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Karen's telling you to. It is
yeah,
work,
yep,
but clearly you can get rewarded for that work.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, so what's next for Holidaily? And how can anyone who missed out on investing,
Oh,
stay involved with your story and
Yeah.
support the brand.
Awesome question. So what's next for us? With this new packaging, that will all be on shelves if it's not already where people are. Um, we launched a new variety pack in the last 2 months. We have two other new products coming out this year, so we have a lot of really cool, exciting things going on. We recently added distribution to Idaho and Montana, and we are looking at a couple other geographic additions. Um, so Holidaily is growing a lot right now, and we plan to continue that. We're building some great relationships with a lot of the big chains out there, grocery chains. Just got into all the Sprouts and Trader Joe's in California, Mark. So you better hit some Trader Joe's and Sprouts.
Awesome.
HEB in Texas, Safeway's up in Washington. So focused on just really getting deep within the states that we're in and working on those relationships. Um, in terms of following us moving forward, we are super active on social media. On Instagram, it's at Holidaily Brew. And we have a one called at Holidaily Tap Room. And I have one called at Chief Brewista. So you can follow me, you can follow our tap room, you can follow our brand. Um, and all updates will be in all of those areas. Um, or join Start Engine and fish around and follow our page on Start Engine as well, because there, will be some updates on there. Not as frequent as social media for sure, but if there's any more activity in terms of a raise, that would be where the most detailed information would be.
You're gonna be right up the road now at Sprouts, so I'll be buying it.
Awesome.
I've already had it, and it's great. But and I know I'm excited to see you next week too. We'll be at the Craft Brewers Conference. I
Yeah,
know you're going to be speaking there, so if
yeah,
anyone out there is listening, going to be there, let's
yeah,
meet up.
totally.
Let's grab a pint.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to ask me, Karen. I know you really, we both wanted to share your story because I think
thanks.
you executed so many things well for your crowdfunding
Thank you.
campaign. But as you mentioned, you've also had a lot of people reach out to you about the process. So
Totally.
um, hope this was helpful for
Yes,
you and anyone else out there. But
me
yeah, I don't know
too.
if you have any closing words or
Um,
questions.
I don't think so. I think, if people are thinking about doing this and want to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to talk with people. Um, but yeah, it is not an easy process, but it has been very worthwhile so far. So,
It's great to hear.
yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
thanks for chatting, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks, Karen.
right. Yeah, have a great
All right.
weekend.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.